The casting for Tomi Adeyemi's 2018 best-selling novel, Children of Blood and Bone, has been released, and people have plenty of thoughts, feelings, and opinions about it. Now, as a Nigerian, well, as a Nigerian American, because that distinction matters to a lot of people, as a Nigerian American, I myself have several thoughts, feelings, and opinions, which is what we're going to get into in this video. Aloha, beautiful humans. Welcome to my channel. If you are new here, welcome back if we've been locked in. My name is Sasha, and today we are talking about the casting for Children of Blood and Bone. Have you read the book? Have you not read the book? Do you plan on seeing the movie? Do you not plan on seeing the movie? Regardless of the answer to either of those questions, but especially if you plan on reading the book and or you plan on seeing the movie, which is slated to be released in January of 2027, this video is going to have a few spoilers, so you've been warned. Don't hop in my comments talking about, oh my God, spoiler alert. Where was the spoiler alert? This is it. Okay, it's going to be light spoilers, but there are several important themes in the book that, while I'm not going to give away a lot of spoilers, they are going to be central and integral to the conversation that we're going to be having in this video. So if you do not want spoilers, do not watch. Pause it. It has been released on audiobook. It's about an 18-hour listen. So if you want to listen, if you want to read, go listen to the book, go read it, and then come back to this video. But if you have read the book or listened to it, because despite what a lot of people may think, I do think audiobooks do suffice and count as reading. So if you've read the book, or you've listened to it, and you want to get into the tea about the controversy surrounding the casting, this is the video for you. Okay, so let's talk about it. So what is at the center of this controversy? There are several conversations that I've been seeing happening, but colorism has been the biggest discussion and disappointment people have shared as it pertains to the casting. The cast for Children of Blood and Bone does feature several lighter-skinned actors and actresses in roles originally imagined and described in the book as people who are dark-skinned. Now, this controversy and conversation has particularly surrounded Amandla Stenberg, who has had her fair share of controversies as it pertains to some of the roles that she has played. Her casting in particular has prompted comparisons to previous controversies in Hollywood. And while there are some fans who are excited about the casting, spoiler alert, I am one of those people. While some fans are thrilled with the casting choices, others are questioning whether the selections truly represent the diversity and richness of the book's characters. Children of Blood and Bone is a young adult coming-of-age fantasy novel with Zélie as the main character, who with her brother Zane seeks to reclaim the magic that was violently stolen from their people by a vicious king. Now, as a Nigerian, well, a Nigerian American, because like I said, this distinction matters to a lot of people. And the reason why I keep on bringing up this distinction is because it is always used, generally in my case, when people try to diminish or dismiss me as a real Nigerian, because I'm a first generation. I was born in America. My mom is Igbo. My dad is Yoruba. There have been times in the past where other Nigerians, because Nigerians find each other everywhere they go, okay? Like if somebody is Nigerian, you will know about it in like 0.3 seconds. So it's been my experience at times that other people, they'll find out that I'm Nigerian and we'll get into a conversation and we'll get into, tribes and things like that. And some of them, when they find out that I cannot speak Yoruba or Igbo through no faults of my own, even though I do need to learn, and Duolingo, y'all need to get on your Zoom, by the way, because how is Duolingo? How do they have Klingon and High Valerian, but they don't have Yoruba or Igbo? Like, make it make sense. But anyways, I'm in the process of really trying to learn my language, because I do think a lot of culture is tied to your language. It's tied to your food. It's tied to the traditions and the customs, et cetera, et cetera. But people will try to dismiss me or say that I'm not really Nigerian because I don't know how to speak Yoruba or Igbo. And that's why I bring up this distinction, because even though it doesn't really matter to me, there are times when I talk about being Nigerian and people in the comments will be like, oh, you're not really Nigerian. And that it often comes from other Nigerians. So that is the reason why I say that distinction matters. And that's the reason why I brought it up, because even though it doesn't matter to me, I want to get ahead of the people in my comment section who will inevitably probably try to dismiss some of the things that I say in this video and say I'm not really Nigerian because I don't know how to speak the language. But anyways, as a Nigerian reading this story, I loved it. As someone who is a huge Harry Potter fan, I read the Hunger Games novels. I love a coming of age story that is either fantasy based or one that gives dystopian vibes. And this book gives both, but I especially love it because it is centered around Nigerian culture, specifically Yoruba culture. The novel is set in Nigeria. Well, it's like a fantasy kingdom, but reading between the lines, like they talk about Lego. So it's very obviously set in Nigeria. And it incorporates elements of Yoruba mythology and deities, as well as explores themes of colorism, classism, which serves as a stand-in for race in the book. Nigeria is a West African country. And so racism, as we experience it in America, in the UK, in a lot of other Western countries, because Nigeria is a predominantly Black country, like literally 99.7%. Nigeria is the most populated Black country in the world, okay? Like, there is a very small percentage of Nigerians that are not Black. However, when I was in Nigeria, I was there this past December, I did see a lot of racial diversity there. You know, I saw a lot of Lebanese, I saw a lot of Indians, I saw some Chinese people there. All of this to say, racism is not a thing that happens in Nigeria. So that's where the class element comes into play. You'll see a lot of classism, but you will not see racism because Nigeria is a predominantly Black country. So like I said, there are themes of colorism, classism, which serves as a stand-in for race in the book, as well as parental approval and expectation. And if you are Nigerian, I think this is actually like a thing amongst a lot of immigrant cultures and non-Western cultures. They are huge on filial piety. And so you're always trying to seek your parents' approval, making sure that you are making them proud and not doing anything to embarrass them. And that is something that, as a Black sheep in my family, that is something that I related to very strongly in Children of Blood and Bone. When interviewed and asked for her inspiration, Adeyemi said that she was inspired by books like Harry Potter, you know, Western fantasy fiction like Avatar, The Last Airbender, and The Hunger Games, especially the backlash Amandla Stenberg faced when she was cast as Rue, who, despite the fact that if you actually read the books, this is what I don't understand about people, how people's racism and ignorance just took off, even though in the book, Rue was described as a dark-skinned Black girl. So when it came to casting Amandla Stenberg as Rue, which I think is kind of a full circle moment because she was cast as one of the main characters in a lead role in this book. So it's giving very much like full circle moment. But anyways, when you think back to the Hunger Games and Amandla Stenberg, the controversy she faced around being cast as Rue, it was racism, because there were a lot of people who just legitimately did not feel sympathy for Rue's character when she passed away because she was a Black girl, despite the fact that in the book she was explicitly described as dark-skinned. She was on the receiving end of a lot of racist vitriol. There was also criticism she received as a result of colorism, her as a lighter-skinned actress being cast in a role that would have been more fitting for a dark-skinned woman. So Amandla Stenberg really received a lot of backlash in her casting as Rue. And then again with her casting in The Hate U Give, that character was also described as a dark-skinned Black girl. And now Amandla Stenberg is also on the receiving end of criticism with this casting again. So it's like this girl cannot get away from controversy, for better or for worse. And it's through no fault of her own. I want to be very clear about that. People are going to have a lot of thoughts, feelings, and opinions, but baby girl can't help the color of her skin, okay? This unfortunately is on Hollywood, right? This unfortunately, it's on Hollywood. I would also be remiss if I did not bring up the Black Lives Matter movement and the violence against Black people in this country. That was also something that inspired her in this novel. So it is a really great book, and there are just so many elements that make this book so unique, and I'm so glad she has been given the opportunity to bring this movie to the big screen. But like I said, people got thoughts, they got feelings, people are big mad. So let's talk about why people are mad. This actually has not been brought up by people, but it's something that I thought about and that I found like a little disappointing. I'm not gonna lie. Despite the fact that the book is very obviously set in Nigeria, the filming of the movie is going to be done in South Africa. And this is a lesser issue because I'm sure this has nothing to do with Tomi. This has nothing to do with the director. And it is very much so a Paramount thing. I feel like every single movie we see about Africa, it is always set in South Africa. Like somebody needs to explain this to me. Like, These film studios actually know, they have to know that South Africa is not the only country in Africa that has the infrastructure to support major film projects like this. Like, why? There has to be a reason why. I did a little digging and I did see, while there isn't a dedicated Paramount studio set in South Africa in the same way that there exists in Hollywood, Paramount Pictures does actively utilize South Africa for filming, often partnering with local production companies and utilizing existing locations across the country, particularly in Cape Town and Durban, to shoot their productions. When I was reading that, it kind of made sense. If you already have networks within the country, it would absolutely make sense that South Africa would be ideal for filming, and why it is a filming hub for Paramount when it comes to their productions. I do understand if this is the case, they already have networks down there. However, part of my frustration is that this is an opportunity that could have been brought to Nigeria. Nollywood is already such a huge and established industry. Like, when you think about African film productions and the African film industry, you think about Nollywood. At this point, Nollywood probably rivals Bollywood or has surpassed Bollywood when it comes to independent filming and huge film industries in other countries. So it's like, there was an opportunity there, and I was just a little disappointed. I'm not going to lie. I was disappointed to see that it was going to be filmed in South Africa as opposed to Nigeria. It could have boosted the Nigerian economy, and I feel like they could have partnered with Nollywood. But again, this is me as a layperson, as a regular person seeing this. I'm not in the film industry. And like I said, when I did research for this video, I did see that South Africa is frequently used as a filming location for Paramount Productions due to its diverse landscapes and cost effectiveness. So that is perhaps why they went with filming in South Africa instead of Nigeria. And if that's the reason, that's okay. But in the future, maybe for film number 2, y'all could consider Nigeria, maybe? Okay, moving on, because it is a trilogy. So if all 3 parts are going to be made into film adaptations, then maybe y'all could head to Nigeria. Just a thought. Okay, let's get into the biggest reason of why people are mad. Colorism. Colorism once again rears its ugly head. And it's not just colorism particularly, it is how colorism impacts the experience of the character in the book, which Amandla will be playing. And I really want to make this distinction because anytime people bring up colorism, but no, not just people, let me be very clear. Anytime dark-skinned Black women bring up colorism, we're always dismissed and people are like, here y'all go complaining again. And it's like, you cannot address anything as a Black woman, but especially as a dark-skinned Black woman without people thinking you're complaining. And it is so annoying. But what it also tells me is that when people are so quick to dismiss you and shut you down, you are probably on to something. The fact that so many people seem genuinely frustrated and annoyed when dark-skinned Black women bring up colorism, that lets me know that they are aware it is an issue. Even though they do not receive it as an issue, they are aware that it's something that holds some level of water and it's something that could be valid. And so when people are unwilling to listen to dark-skinned Black women, when we talk about colorism, that lets me know that we need to continue to have these conversations. Amandla Stenberg has been in the middle of controversy on more than one occasion when it comes to some of the roles that she has been cast in. Now, y'all know I'm a big words mean things person. So just so we're so on the same page, colorism is the prejudice and discrimination against individuals with dark skin tones, typically among people of the same ethnic or racial group. So it is an intra-racial struggle. It is something that happens intra-racially. However, white people can also be the harbingers of colorism. So what I mean by that is, even though colorism is typically faced within the racial and ethnic group, white people can also be the ones displaying levels of colorism along with people from that racial group. So for example, how some Black people can be colorist, white people can be colorist and racist as well. Even though Amandla Stenberg is at the center of this controversy. People are also reacting strongly to Tomi. She is a South African actress who has been cast as the main character in the Children of Blood and Bone, Zeli. And in Zeli's story, being a dark-skinned Black girl, being a dark-skinned Black woman is central to her struggles as well. I won't say central to her struggles, but it is a part of her experience. And if you look at Tuso, I think some people would not say she is light-skinned. I think some people would describe her as brown-skinned. However, because Zeli in the book was described and is described as dark-skinned, I did see a lot of people confused about that casting, as well as the fact that Tuso is South African, and this could have been an opportunity for a Nigerian actress to be cast as the main character in the leading role. Tuso's nationality is a criticism that I'll also get into later in the video. However, at this point, we're talking about colorism. So the fact that she is a brown skin, not necessarily light skin, but a brown skin actress, when the main character is a dark skin actress, that also caused some people to not really be jazzed about the casting. And when it comes to Amandla, who has been at the center of several controversies as a result of colorism and racism. Like I said earlier, she was on the receiving end of a lot of racism as a result of her being cast as Rue in the Hunger Games. And then she was also on the receiving end of criticism as far as colorism when it came to, again, her role as Rue in the Hunger Games and Star in The Hate U Give. Here's my thoughts about colorism as it pertains to both Amandla Stenberg and Tomi in their roles in the Children of Blood and Bone. I'm less concerned about it when it comes to Tuso in comparison to the character Amandla is playing. Amandla is playing the character of Princess Amari, and colorism is absolutely central to her struggle. She is a dark-skinned Black girl in a kingdom where her dark skin is not valued, where she is on the receiving end of a lot of negativity and harsh judgment, even at the hands of her own mother, as a result of the color of her skin. People are questioning whether she's even her father's daughter, if she's her father's child, and her own mother even goes as far as to recommend and suggest she bleach her own skin. Like, what? Skin bleaching is absolutely a huge issue in Nigerian culture because, like I said, colorism is very real. And in any country that has been colonized, this is just what we got to deal with now. Princess Amari experiences a lot of colorism in the novel, and Amandla Stenberg's casting just doesn't make sense in that capacity. If you are one of those people who is a purist and who is sticking to the novel, there are some people who feel that Amandla, as a biracial light-skinned woman, should have given up the role and passed up the opportunity because they do not feel she cannot understand colorism as a result of being light-skinned and therefore will not be able to channel that in her role. Now, I think that's kind of like a baseless argument because she is an actress and she is a damn good one at that, okay? Amandla Stenberg shows up for every role that she's in. And I don't necessarily believe, especially in a film role, that you need to personally experience whatever it is that that the character you're playing is going through. And so I don't think Amandla Stenberg needs to personally understand or experience colorism in order to play that role, if that makes sense. But that's just me. If anything, what kind of makes me laugh about her being cast in this role is that her brother, who has been cast to play the role of her brother in the movie Prince Iman, is Damson Idris, who is darker than Amanda. And this is why this is the gag. In the book, her brother Prince Iman is lighter than Princess Amari, and therefore he doesn't experience the same colorism she does. So how does this gonna work? How is this gonna work? Like, are they gonna lighten his skin? Are they gonna darken her skin? Like, please, dear God, no. We do not need another situation of Zoe Saldana playing Nina Simone. Like, please don't do this. Please don't do this because I will boycott. Okay, we don't need to be darkening anybody's skin to play a role. Just get a darker skinned actor or actress. Like, my God, I still, to this day, I cannot believe they played in our faces like that. Like, Zoe Saldana should be embarrassed by that. I don't know if at any point there wasn't anything that stopped her and was like, this is not a good freaking idea. Because, girl, what? Like, What? Okay, anyways, moving on. Another criticism that I did see about the movie was the accents. And I don't even think that's a valid criticism because the movie hasn't even been released yet, but I think some people have PTSD from Black Panther. So some shade has already been thrown about the accents and how bad they are going to be, again, because of Black Panther. And listen, these people were acting, and I did see that getting the accents right was important to Chadwick Boseman, may he rest. I think I did see somewhere that he said they worked with linguistic coaches, but okay, if that's true that they did work with linguistic coaches, there is only so much accent perfecting you can get. And we're just going to have to forgive that. Hopefully, Paramount will find it in the budget to partner the actors and actresses with linguistic coaches so they can get the accent right, because I do think it is important. And I am tired of hearing tacky, horrible African accents. And the reason why I put African in air quotes is because people have this misconception that Africa is a country. Africa is a continent with the most diversity in languages spoken. Not every African is going to sound the same when they speak English based on the countries that they are from, based on the language, based on their primary language, not even country of origin, because within countries, there is also a diversity of ethnicity and culture and languages. So everybody is not going to sound the same. You know, if we can understand and respect that people typically raised in New York don't sound the same as people typically raised in certain areas of Texas, who don't sound the same as people typically raised in certain areas of California. If we can understand and respect the regional diversity in one country, the United States of America, I think we need to do better about respecting the diversity of people on a freaking continent and respecting the diversity of the languages and how English is spoken and the accents in those countries, and then even within those countries, within the regions in which they occupy. And so I do hope that that is something Paramount gets right, but I don't think we can criticize them without the movie even being out yet. So we're just going to have to pump the brakes on that one and sit on that. These small touches are impactful. They matter. Something as simple as an accent, while it may be small to people, it's in the details. You know, that level of storytelling and the authenticity is in the details like that. And those details do matter, especially since this is the first Nigerian story, I think, especially when it comes to Nigerian mythology and deities. And we have seen Beyonce bring these elements into her music and how she performs and her art. However, this is the first time we're seeing Nigerian mythology and deity on the big screen in this way. And I think it is really important to get it right. All the actors, all the actresses, they don't have to be Nigerian, but I do think it is important to get our culture right. And part of culture is language. It is your accents. So like I said, these small details matter, and I'm going to give Paramount the benefit of the doubt. I'm also going to give them the benefit of the doubt because I think something that happens when we are initially excited about these stories. As a Nigerian American, as a dark-skinned Black woman, I'm rooting for everybody Black. I want more Black stories on the screen. I'm going to support, I'm going to show up, but I don't think we can criticize every little thing, because when we do that, I think that opens up a window for some people, some of these movie houses and production companies to be like, oh, all they'll do is complain. Whether these critiques or criticisms are valid or not, I do see some people using them as an opportunity to not tell our stories. While it is okay to critique and criticize, we also need to show up and support if we want to see more of our stories told on the big screen, but also if we want to create opportunities for our stories to be told. And in this movie, I'm seeing that we have a Black director on set, and that is amazing. That is what we need to see more of. But in order for us to see more of that, we have to give these movies and productions an opportunity to get off the ground in the first place before we hop in to criticize. Okay? The last criticism and critique that I saw offered, and I touched upon it a little bit earlier when I talked about the fact that Tuso, she is South African. I did see that there was criticism about the diversity or lack thereof in the casting. I don't agree with that. I understand that this is a Nigerian story. However, I do not agree with the criticism that all of the actors, or at least all of the main characters, should have been Nigerian. I don't necessarily agree with that. I understand it. I do understand it, but I don't agree with it. I think the casting is very diverse in terms of nationality and ethnicity. And so I do, and since this is a Nigerian movie, I can understand that some people are disappointed that the main character is a South African woman. However, I explicitly disagree with the criticisms that I've seen that there are no Nigerians in the roles as lead characters. And the reason why I disagree with this is that distinction that I brought up earlier. There are 4 Nigerians that were cast in lead roles: Cynthia Erivo, Damson Idris, Chiwetel Ejiofor, and Tosin Cole. All of these are Nigerians. However, if the Nigerian American distinction matters to you, then it will also make sense that there are some people who do not feel that they are really Nigerians because they are British Nigerian. They were not raised in Nigeria. And also, y'all don't come for me when it comes to the pronunciations of these names, okay? Save it for someone else. You will be blocked. You will be blocked. Expeditiously. Earlier, I joked about the fact that this distinction matters because there are really some Nigerians out there who do not recognize the diaspora, and therefore they do not feel you are Nigerian if you weren't raised in Nigeria. So when I see people saying that there are no Nigerians playing lead characters, that's really frustrating to me and very minimizing, because at the end of the day, they are Nigerian, and you cannot downplay or revoke their heritage just because they were raised in a different country. Being a child of immigrants, growing up, a lot of the time it felt like I had my feet in 2 worlds and I was never fully one or the other. My parents did such a good job, despite the fact, even though they didn't teach us the language, and I think that's more because they didn't speak each other's language, we were raised fully within Nigerian culture. And there are a lot of people who would feel, especially growing up, who would feel that I was more Nigerian than American. Now, obviously, because I am an adult and I've spent all of my life in America, I'm very American in a lot of ways. Like last week, somebody in my comments said something to the effect of, I'm not really Nigerian, or I have an American mentality of feminism that real Nigerian women don't have. And it was like, well, duh. And I was like, well, 1, are you trying to insult me? Because I don't feel bad about that. But 2, how I feel about certain things would absolutely be shaped by environment. And I've been raised in America. So there are certain perspectives that I have that are obviously going to be shaped by my experiences in this country, as well as a lot of the values and beliefs we see in Western cultures. And so it would make sense that in a lot of aspects, I would be Westernized, but that's not necessarily a bad thing. And that also doesn't necessarily mean I completely dismissed my Nigerian heritage. There are so many ways in which I'm more Nigerian, and then there are other things about me that are more American. And so to be disappointed in this casting saying that there are no real Nigerians in lead roles, that's really dismissive. I really don't like that. And I completely 110% disagree with that. Now, I think some people's criticisms of this may be due to the fact that there was a casting call in Nigeria, and the Nollywood film industry is huge. There are a lot of stamped and established Nigerian actors and actresses that I feel would body in any of these roles. However, the film is not only being released in Nigeria. And when you look at those actors and actresses, this is gonna slap. Like this movie, you could tell that they were casting people whose acting chops are fire, but also household names, because I bet the budget was insane and they're trying to make their money back for sure. And so they're going to cast actors and actresses that are very recognizable, that are at the top of their game right now, that are household names, to pull people into the theater so they can make their money back and then some. And unfortunately, yes, these actors and actresses in Nollywood are huge in Nigeria, but they may not have, and they don't have mainstream at this moment. They don't have mainstream or crossover appeal in America, and I think we have to respect that and understand the reason why these casting choices were made, and also respect that there are Nigerians in the movie. We have 4 of them. Cynthia Erivo was just in Wicked, which was a highly expected, beautifully received film. I loved it. Okay. I laughed. I cried. I went home happy. Like literally, I just sat in the movie. I just sat in the theater and just cried for a hot minute. If you don't cry during Wicked, something was wrong with you, okay? Something was wrong with you. But anyways, we just had Cynthia Erivo in Wicked. Like, that movie did numbers. So having her in this film, having her in this movie, I'm so excited to see her. And that's naturally what will happen. People will see her in Wicked. They'll see her in this role, Children of Blood and Bone, and want to go see the movie. Even if you're not happy with the casting choices, you got to think about what is going to bring the most eyes to the movie. Because like I said, if we want to see more Black stories being shared and told, if we want to see more Black actors and actresses on the big screen and being given these opportunities, we have to support the actors and actresses in these films that are being made. There was a casting call for this movie done in Nigeria. Hopefully, what will happen is from that casting call, we get actors and actresses that will be put in supporting roles, and then they too will start to build up their profile. They will get crossover appeal, and we'll see them in other projects and other movies, so we can be happy and celebrate Nigerians from the continent. They will become household names, and we can put them on. And this is such a major opportunity. This is the first Nigerian story I have ever seen that incorporates all of these elements being told on the big screen. And I am so excited to see it. I am so excited to see it. And I hope this creates opportunities for Nigerian actors and actresses. But in order to get those actors and actresses and to give them certain opportunities, we have to understand that we are casting American actors and actresses, British actors and actresses, 4 of them who are Nigerian. We have to appreciate that and support that so we can see other movies and roles being created, other movies and stories being created that will amplify and lift and highlight Black stories and Black voices. We also have to stop saying people are not really Nigerian or Ghanaian or South African or whatever if they don't grow up in those countries. We cannot help the fact that we were born and raised in other countries. And the fact that we were born and raised in other countries, that doesn't completely strip our heritage or our culture. While casting decisions for Children of Blood and Bone have sparked a variety of opinions, some of them pretty positive, but most of them negative, it is really crucial to recognize the wider context of representation and inclusivity in Hollywood, especially when it comes to telling Black stories. This story, this movie, this casting, it offers an opportunity for dialogue and growth in the industry, yes, and it also emphasizes the need for authentic storytelling. We should absolutely continue to have these conversations and advocate for necessary changes, but also understand that some of the decisions that are being made are not necessarily within the control of the authors of these books or even in the director's primary control. For example, the filming location being in South Africa. As a dark-skinned Black woman, I 1010% understand the erasure of monoracial Black women in Hollywood and on TV is real. Continually casting biracial women in the role of Black women absolutely takes away roles and opportunities for Black women. And that level of colorism, again, creates obstacles for monoracial dark-skinned Black women who look like me. At the same time, with a film like this adapted from a best-selling novel written by a young Nigerian woman, Nigerian American woman, this film is such an amazing opportunity to tell Black stories in a way that makes it so we can grow and have more control of our stories. Getting household names and big actors will create the opportunities in the future for more funding. When it comes to Amandla Stenberg, I am confident she will body this role. She will be phenomenal in this role. I do not doubt for a single second she will be able to play the role of Princess Amari and capture her pain, her experience with colorism, even if Amandla hasn't experienced it herself, because she's an amazing actress. So to wrap this up, I've seen all of the criticisms and I do understand it. I think they are valid. However, if all of those things were enough to stop you from seeing the movie, that is disappointing. And I think a lot of people think that them choosing to sit certain things out is going to make a difference, when in this case, all it's going to do is negatively impact the ability and certain opportunities to give Black people, to give Black women opportunities to tell their stories. At the end of the day, I'm gonna see that movie. I'm gonna be there. I'm gonna see it twice because I'm rooting for everybody Black, but I'm especially rooting for my Nigerian sis, Tomi. Girl, you did your big one, and I am so excited for you. I am so excited to see the story, and I cannot wait to see it come to the big screen and support you, girl. So drop down into the comments and let me know. Have you read this book? Have you listened to the audiobook? Have you seen any of this controversy surrounding the casting? Let me know. Don't forget to like and subscribe. And until next time, peace out.